Many thanks for staying with us on the conversation. Right now, we are on the second segment and we'll be looking at the performance of the 2024 budget in Lagos State, tagged Budget of Renewal. The budget of renewal emphasized infrastructure, environment, education, technology, and a notable increase in security funding. And as we look ahead to the recently proposed 2025 budget of sustainability, it's crucial to understand how well the goals set in 2024 were met. And joining us to have this conversation this morning is Muktar Mohammed, CEO Finance with Muktar. You're welcome.
Thank you. My pleasure being here always. Good morning.
Good morning. How would you assess, the overall performance of the 2024 budget, and the state, really meets its primary objectives?
I think when you look at I think the 2024 budget was budget of continuity or the renewal. I mean, budget of renewal. As it really, it's from continuity to renewal. So it's based on infrastructure and security. And when you look at the infrastructure, Lagos State really improved. Definitely they have. Security has improved. Education has improved in terms of the physical structure. But in terms of the manpower, I think they are still struggling there. Environment, I think environment has been not meet expectation in terms of implementation of environmental laws in Lagos State. I think that has not been there. But by and large, you could say in terms of infrastructure, they have done well. We've seen the blue line,
the red line,
the red line coming up, and then we've seen a little bit of in terms of trying to manage traffic management has also improved in Lagos State. Some attribute it to the high cost of
fuel.
But I think it has really improved in terms of moving from one place to another in Lagos these days. Has improved, and that also could be linked to infrastructure because we are having more link roads and we are expecting more. We've seen one very nice one along the Okpebi. If that comes again, that would drive down traffic flow. So a lot of things have been done. I think you almost give them kudos in terms of implementation. I think Lagos have always been up to date in terms of implementation of their budget. Sometimes they score as high as 80, 90, but I think this time
with
little challenges, especially in the area of implementation environmental laws. I think that's where they didn't get it really right, but I think they got as far as 75% implementation.
Okay. You talk about education.
Yeah, in education, I think you've seen good infrastructure in terms of the classrooms. You could see improvement in terms of classroom. I think they should go further in trying getting more teachers. They did some recruitment, but with the population of Lagos keep increasing by the day. More inflow of people, and now with the current high cost of living in terms of private schools, a lot of parents will be looking towards the public school for SOCOM. And in terms of, like I said, in terms of infrastructure, you could see that's fairly good, but I think they need to do better in terms of getting more manpower, especially in the area of teaching.
Oh, okay. When you look at the budget of Lagos State year in, year out, there's this particular thing that I've noticed. Capital is oftentimes more than recurrent compared to what we have in some other states. What are the factors that are responsible for this? And is it reflecting in the quality of life of Lagosians?
Jibola, when you say capital is improving in more than other states, you just try to be a little bit fair. But I think capital is improving even more than the federal.
Yeah.
You see recurrent expedition keep going down in Lagos State. Capital project keep going
increasing.
So definitely you give it to them. But you see in other states, especially even the federal, you see a recurrent expenditure going higher by the day, and then capital expenditure coming down. When it's not even coming down, you are borrowing to do that. But in terms of Lagos, I think you've seen those capital expenditure getting better by the day, and I think that could be attributed to reduction in terms of cost of governance, one, and also in terms of management, in terms of improvement in IGR. I think they are improving by the day because I think they are having more innovative way of getting more companies to pay IGR. I mean, then I think that also is helping them. That's why you can see that their budget tend to improve over the years in terms of capital expenditure, and which is fantastic. And that means as the population grew in Lagos State, they try to know that they need to improve in the infrastructure, and they are doing that. And I think with the recent, if it's see the light of day, the recent passing of the tax reform had to see the light of the day also, then Lagos State also will have more revenue to do more things. Because in terms of consumption, Lagos State
This is
has
where
the
people
highest consumption rate, and if that law is passed into law, that means they will have more value added tax revenue for Lagos State, and that will also be good. And you see how Lagos State government will be able to implement that. You also realize that Lagos State also have to improve their infrastructure and make it innovative, like the budget have said, because of the advent of Dangote refinery in the Lekki exit. And I think they have foresee that, and you could see a little improvement in terms of road network from Ajah as far as Ekpe. You could see that they are expanding the road, and they're trying to create more inter-road. So I think they are having foresight, but I think they also have to improve in the waterway. That's one area they kept talking about improving every year. But we've not really seen that improvement. Improvement is not just based on having more boats, but in terms of security of life on that waterway, they need to improve. And then we need to get to a point whereby Lagos State have marine security on the waterway to prevent some of the kind of avoidable mishap that we get in those roads, especially when you know a lot of people are looking at the waterway as a cheaper means of getting to their destination.
quicker, faster.
And faster. So that's one area that Lagos State have not really done so much about, improving the waterway transportation. I think that will be a key driver.
Okay, I'm glad you talked about the Dangote Lekki Ekpe Expressway access and business and construction of roads going on there. Let's look at small businesses. How do you think the 2024 budget has affected small businesses and, of course, the overall economy of Lagos?
Well, small businesses have suffered. It's not so much about Lagos State alone. Small businesses have suffered because of microeconomic issues that have happened in Nigeria, which you can't say Lagos State was the cause of the recent removal of subsidy. You can't say Lagos State was the cause of the floating of the naira. So small businesses are really suffering as long as we get hike in interest rate. You see that a lot of business suffer, and Lagos seems to be the most vibrant small business economy. So definitely the small businesses are suffering, and consumers also are suffering, because again, when you look at minimum wage comparable to where the standard of living we were before, you could see that we're almost at the same spot, but cost of living has gone high. So that also is affecting small businesses. Loans to smaller business have gone high also. That's not because of Lagos State.
Of course.
So when you look at small business suffering, you won't attribute it to Lagos State, or small businesses are really suffering. But again, one thing Lagos State need to do for small businesses is to see how they can help them. And I think the Ministry of Wealth Creation
is doing a lot in that.
Seminars, having how to help small businesses grow, how to get a lot of people out of the poverty level. Since Lagos State seems to have, I think, entrepreneurial funding of the tune of 25 billion, which they try to help smaller business. I think smaller business need those funding now ever than before.
Okay.
Okay, but when you look at the performance of the 2024 budget generally, which are those areas that you're going to give the state government outstanding marks that, okay, indeed, Lagos State government has done very well in this particular aspect of the 2024 budget in terms of implementation and impacting the lives of Lagosians?
I've said it. I think one is the...
No, you said the infrastructure, aside from infrastructure now.
Okay, aside from infrastructure, I think security. Security has improved, like I said. And then again, education. Even if I would say it's the physical side of it, but you could see improvement. They've done some little recruitment. I talked about the Ministry of Wealth Creation a moment ago. They tried to organize seminars for smaller businesses. And again, I need to give it to the Lagos State Internet Generated Revenue. Maybe the last time I was here, I talked about how sometimes they go after small businesses, almost trying to kill them. Maybe they were listening. I think they have been a little bit mild in terms of addressing smaller businesses. We've not seen that kind of lockdown that we normally see, shut down a business for weeks, running to Alausa, running to... I think they've done well in that area. Then I talked about transportation. They've done very, very well in transportation. Remember, Lagos State government was the first people that thought about palliative for the people through transportation, whereby I think the BRT rapid response was at a particular rate for a long time. So I think those are where I think they have made a little bit of, a lot of improvement. I won't say a little bit of improvement because when you look at that budget, at the time that budget was passed, exchange rate was about 400, and at the time this budget became implemented, exchange rate has gone as high as 1,600. So that means they really need to manage their resources to be able to get the target that they got to.
Okay. I noticed that priority is being given to some sectors more than the others. And is this as a cause or as a result of continuity in governance? So sectors like health should also be given, a lot of priority in the budget. Is this healthy for?
I think in terms of health, yes, that's one area also that I think Lagos State government have tried to come up with innovation. Not necessarily because, like I said, the resources are scarce. You don't have so much of it. But you see the PPP working very well.
Doctors have jackpot.
Yes, and they are losing manpower in terms of doctors leaving the country. But you see the PPP has been one of Lagos State's strongest points in the area of health. The public-private partnership, where you go to their hospitals, there's always a PPP. If you go to the lawsuit, you see a lot of PPP projects there. So that also have helped them in terms. But health is not cheap. Again, they have also come out with their own, I've forgotten the name now, ECO, in terms of health. Lera ECO, whereby they have smaller people able to register so that they can access healthcare. That is huge. When you know that a lot of these smaller businesses, when you talk about healthcare, they don't want to go in there because they think of the cost. They rather go to one small chemist beside the side. They become self-prescription and all that. But with this project now, a lot of smaller business with that little amount they can key into a health sector. That's why I say that Lagos State is largely looking at the health sector through the area of PPP and trying to complement it in terms of helping the vulnerable. And that's where they have come up with that particular healthcare package. I think they've done well in terms of healthcare. Infrastructure-wise, in terms of healthcare, you can see that the primary healthcare centers in Lagos State, if you go through Nigeria, then you tend to appreciate what you have in primary healthcare in Lagos State, because you could see a lot of pregnant women can go there for their antenatals, the children can go there for vaccination, and you see a lot of people also going there for family planning also. All this is not before crowding the general hospitals but you are seeing them going to healthcare. I think that's kudos to Lagos State.
Okay, oftentimes we always complain that government is not taking care of us with our basic needs and amenities. And for any budget to be successful, we as citizens, we also have some kind of role to play. So do you think Lagosians have played their role well with this 2024 budget in terms of what government is able to generate?
I think in terms of role playing, I think we've not been playing our role very well because, again, Jibola, if you ask the average Lagosian what's the budget, none of them seems to know.
I was going to come to that.
Nobody seems to know what
they
the
don't know
budget
and they don't even care.
Sometimes the local government road, they say, Governor Sanwo-Olu have not done our road. But it's supposed to be a local government that's supposed to do those roads. I think it's a general problem. If you look at Nigeria as a whole, we tend to concentrate more on the federal. If you look at the state, we tend to concentrate more on the state. So we have that thinking that, look, when you are a government, the governor of Lagos State, you are a superman, you do everything. We don't even attribute anything to local government. But again now, I think what Lagosians should do more is that we need to begin to see local government budgets. Now that they have the autonomy, we need to begin to ask how the local government budget, what is it like? Because this money is not going to be passing through the states any longer. So that is another thing we hope to see, that synergy between the state and the local government. But in terms of us, what have we done as a people to make sure there's implementation? Is less than 20, because a lot of people don't even think about the budget. And sometimes again, you won't blame them, because they will tell you that what role have the budget played in their life. Because
but they see roads, like you rightly said, they see the red line, the blue line. But when it is time for them to pay their taxes, they shy away from that.
You see, I keep saying something, Jibola. Nigerians are not very difficult in terms of paying taxes when they see good projects. But what is the challenge is the enlightenment in terms of these taxes. It's a big challenge, because if you look at Lagos State as it stands now, they've not been able to come up with initiative of how to get the informal sector to pay taxes. So that's a challenge, both nationally and state-wise now. How do you get the informal sector to pay taxes, not levy? I'm not talking about levy. I'm talking about taxes. How do you get them to pay taxes, and how do you reduce levies? Because the challenge why you see this, they don't want to pay this, because there's so much levies they pay. Local government collects levies.
Multiple taxation.
Multiple taxation all over. So they are not so much, when you tell them, say, so how many tax would I even pay? So, and Lagos State make it a little bit easy that you can also do your tax compilation yourself, and then you pay. But they are saying that, okay, what are my benefits when I'm paying so much in terms of levies? So that is the main challenge, and that's one thing that the tax reform of the federal government also is trying to achieve, to reduce the level of levies that people normally pay. So it's not that Lagosians don't like paying taxes, but again, we have seen that Lagos State government need to do more to get more people into the tax bracket. And the only way you can get more people into the tax bracket, because Lagos is largely dominated by entrepreneurs, smaller businesses. Those business needs to feel the impact of the state government in terms of reduction in levy, in terms of improvement in infrastructures in those part of their businesses. So if you begin to do that, you see they will naturally want to pay tax, because it's helping the bottom line of their businesses. And one area that I think Lagos State should key into is the power reform that has come in. How can Lagos State begin to generate independence power, get most of these businesses into independence power, and they begin to enjoy power, not just enjoy it, but also in terms of the cost. Then you see that most businesses will begin to pay. But when you have so much overhead, you have so much levies, and you're not telling me to pay tax, it's always very, very difficult. I think that's because when you see that Lagos State is improving in the internet generated revenue, if you go and ask, the normally taxation is from the formal sector. The informal sector's revenue is always generated through levies. And that cannot be sustained. So you need to begin to see how you can use tax to grow businesses and then make revenue from them. Until you do that, you keep on seeing, looking for avenue to create more levies, because you think that's the only way you can get revenue from all these small businesses. But if we improve in the informal sector, letting them feel the impact of government, then you generate more revenue, and that is sustainable, because that means more businesses will keep coming, and those businesses will be paying
And employment
taxes.
will also be created.
Yeah, employment will be created.
So it's give and take.
It's give and take, and it's sorry to say we have seen that government normally they take so much. They take so much. I mean, take so much from the people. Look, let me tell you, if you look at Lagos State government now, you look at the hardship in the land. You look at how people are struggling to meet consumables, daily consumables. As a government, in the area, that's what I'm telling them to do more. You have increased minimum wage. Fine, fantastic. But how much of that minimum wage are you taxing? Can you begin to help people in the area of reduction? If you look at the minimum wage bill that some states are creating, they are saying that, look, we are going to make sure that you don't pay taxes for some time.
For a while, yeah.
For a while. So that you can see the impact of whatever you are earning. So those are areas that governments, especially Lagos, should work on, trying to make sure that the people feel the impact of governance, not only infrastructure, but in what to eat and where to live. Housing has been a major challenge in Lagos State. The housing law is so obsolete, and they are trying to improve on it, especially the relationship between landlords and tenants. So that is not also opening up development in that space, whereby a tenant can live in a house and not pay rent for 2 years, and the case is in court and dragging. How will I want to put in more funding in those areas? And if you look at those areas, we are not getting low-income houses. Like what we used to be obtained. You go to Ipaja, you see some low-income houses that were built by by the JACON, the administration and others. But these days, when you see those houses, you are wondering, how can a civil servant afford that kind of a house? How will he be able to pay when you are telling him to pay about 60 to 70 million upfront?
Muktar, so some are cheaper than that, depending on the location.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But we need to get a point whereby everybody can get housing. It's not just in the physical structure again. It's coming up with enabling law to have development, PPP. In those, it actually Lagos State houses that people are affordable. I have a lot of friends that ensure they make it very competitive, that you can bid for it as long as you are paying your taxes and you have ways of payment. They make that environment very, but I think they should go further in trying to improve the law so that private sector will also come into those low-income houses. Because what we see now, the private sector are not coming into the low-income houses because in terms of those that will occupy it, they don't have the resources to pay. And when they are there for a long time, they don't want to pay. So you don't want to put... So the law also should be friendly towards investment and also towards the people. Look, the cause... Why do we have governors? Why do we have governance? It's just for two cases. Prosperity and security. If a government is not giving me prosperity and not providing security for me, then I become a government of myself. That's why you can give it to Lagos State, that they've been able to provide security for us. But, you know, like Oliver Twist, you always ask for more. Just like the government also are looking for more revenue. They should do more for the people too.
Okay, earlier you mentioned something about people's feedback about the budget. I'm aware that before the budget is being proposed, there's this
stakeholders
meeting, you know, along the 5 divisions of the state. Is it not effective enough? Are they not doing more? What more do you think government should do?
Who are going for those consulting meetings? You need to ask yourself.
Residents of Lagos, members of CDAs, CDCs.
You see, that's the challenge. How much information do you pass to the people to be available?
They do jingles, they pay on programs.
Okay, I can tell you that maybe the people also, that's where the people problem comes in.
Yes.
Because I can tell you that when you see these things, some people say, oh, it's for the politicians.
Exactly.
It's for the politicians, people that will go there. It's pressure group from the political group. And that's what normally happens, sincerely speaking.
So what more
when
do
you go to those places, rather than scrutinizing the budget, rather than looking at the budget, you see praise singer. Oh, Mr. Governor, oh, Mr. House of Rep.
But people also make demands.
They make demand, but how much of those demands are really being met?
They do.
That is what the government considers before putting the budget together.
Well, sincerely, I have not seen that. Maybe it's happening. Lagos State government need to give us more information on that. I have not seen that. But what I see is when there is a budget implementation like that, you see people go there. And sometimes when you go for this presentation, the lack of knowledge is being displayed there. Whereby you see someone say, look, we want you to do this project for us. And the project is not Lagos State, it's federal. Or it's local government. So that's where the enlightenment needs to come in. So Lagos State government cannot be doing every project or doing it on behalf of local government and say they should give them reform. So those things have to change because there's a new law in town. So what I'm saying, yes, let's begin to see the not market women group, but market women going there, not as a group. That they have told you that when you go there, sing the praise. So, no, we need to see people go there as, look, this thing is not helping my business. My business is suffering because they are collecting too much levies from me. We don't see that.
Muktar, I've attended a couple of these stakeholders meeting on budget, and people do come out, make demands in terms of roads, schools, and other infrastructure. And that is what the government will consider before putting up the budget for next year.
Well, that is good, but they should do more. We should get more people come there. Because when you're talking about that, most times when these things are being passed, the private sector, the big companies are not even being taken along. I can tell you that. Because sometimes, again, you see a lot of projects comes in, and if you take along the big companies, I'll give you an example. What has happened to the Apapa, Oshodi, Lagos Way, is handled by a private company because of the PPP. Why have we seen that type of synergy? To those type of synergy that we see in Lagos State with private sector, it's only with the banking sector. And where we see them run about parks, so especially during Christmas light, there and there. After that, what? Are we seeing the private sector in Lagos State saying, look, I'm taking over this route, this route? That's where we should be going to. You know, government do not have the resources any longer to do some of these projects. They need to begin to key into the private sector and give them tax holiday. And with that, you are growing your economy, you are providing more businesses. I live in an estate now. I see, I don't, whether it's Lagos State government now. That's why I say we can't even say whether. But from good authority, I was made to understand that it's Lagos State government doing drainage in the Antonia exits. They are doing a lot of work in drainage, trying to instead before we do the road, let's do the drainage so that those roads will last. Those are type of things that we want to see, and you can see the number of people that are giving employment to work. Daily income. And you mustn't forget our Nigeria National Bureau of Statistics have changed the job index. It says as much as anybody that can get daily income is now considered employed. So that if you look that when you are doing more projects, that means you are employing more people. And with the Lagos State economy that is largely driven by consumable, if you employ more people that have more money in their hands, that means they will patronize small businesses, whether in terms of levies, whether in taxes. It will be better for Lagos State government.
Okay, so I think we have said so much about the 2024 budget, and of course the figure was quite much, 2.647 trillion naira. Yeah. And just last week, Mr. Governor also presented the budget projection for the year 2025, which is 3 trillion naira, the budget of sustainability. Having gone through the statement of Mr. Governor for that day, what are your projections for the year 2025? How does the budget look to you in terms of figure?
See, figures, these days, figures doesn't, it seems like you are back to where you were before. Because if you're talking about the 2024 was about 3 trillion, am I right?
No. The one for 2025 is 3 trillion.
The year 2024 was 2.77
trillion, yeah.
When you look at the exchange rate today, that means that's what I'm saying, the resources is scarce. If you look at increment in terms of minimum wage also, despite government still trying to do more of capital projects. So that's why the PPP will come in. But in terms of the project, let's go back in terms of the budget that 2025. I think they're still looking at same. Infrastructure again is still there. Security is still there. Innovation is still there. So they are doing, you see, they seem like you said,
continuity.
This continuity at a particular pace in a particular, and sometimes you won't blame them. Look, if you go to developed countries, which Ebola has gone to, you see, yes, because Ebola has traveled far and wide.
Yes.
So if you go to developed countries, you realize that what they do is they look at infrastructure. And once they see population coming to a part of a place, they improve their infrastructure to drive more people to that space, to reduce the pressure on the inner city, and then give them incentive. Now, that is what I want Lagos State government to be doing when it comes to infrastructure. Not that we are doing gigantic infrastructure in the Lekki exit,
and leaving
the other places. We need to begin to see how we can push population out to some parts of Lagos that are not highly populated, and so that you can begin to create that cleaner environment that you want to have. So for me, the budget of infrastructure is always very, very good. But where are these infrastructure? If you look at that budget today, you see that most of the infrastructures are concentrated now in the Lekki houses. We want to get, and I understand why we are doing that, because you don't want what happened in Apapa to happen in those areas. But you also need to begin to look at your people also. That's the challenge with budget in Nigeria. We tend to look so much in infrastructure. But what are we doing in terms of the people? Because of recent, I think the Lagos State government, the governor was in the Turkey investment forum for partnership with Africa. We had meetings with some of the top construction companies and investors in Turkey, which is good. But when you're looking at that, because Nigeria seems to have deficits in terms of infrastructure, construction, everybody thinks to think about construction, which is fantastic. Every company that wants to come to Nigeria knows, if I come for construction, I'm not going to miss it because they need it. But what about the people? How do you make sure that you pay more attention to the people? Lagos State government budget is fine in terms of infrastructure. What of social investment?
Okay, I'm quoting Mr. Governor now. He said the proposed budget was structured to ensure stability, stewardship, and social equity around 5 key pillars, including infrastructure, sustainability, economic diversification, social inclusion, human capital development, environmental sustainability, governance, and institutional reforms.
That's the same of same. We there again, infrastructure is still leading. You talk about social justice. You talk about the environment. It's still a major.
Is it not infrastructure that will drive development?
Infrastructure drive development again, but if your people are not the ones that are driving, are the key beneficiary of, playing a key part in the infrastructural development. When you have an infrastructure and all the construction, what you have in your people doing are just the manual job, how much can they sustain it after this power? That's why you see sometimes they construct this road. When they are gone, do we need to call them back? Those are part of the things we're talking about. He talks about capital of the people, which is fantastic. You talk about social investment, which is good. But I keep saying that when you talk about infrastructure, like I just mentioned, where are those infrastructure? Infrastructure should be towards the rural area, because the challenge with Lagos now, you tend to be excited when you come to the Lagos metropolitan, you come to the men of the island, you go, what's happening in other ways in Lagos? They need to open up those areas. We've seen that happen before. And I think the governor before Mr. Governor came in, did a lot in terms of opening up new communities to good road networks. And that seems to be something we are not doing any longer. They need to go back to that, whereby communities are being opened up with new infrastructure, driving a lot of people to want to live there. And like I said now, traffic is better when you have good infrastructure. Lagos is not as big as we think it is. It's born right because of the challenge in terms of infrastructure, especially the transportation network. Like people are concentrated at a particular point because of the proximity to where they work. So we need to begin to see how we can do that in terms of not just infrastructure of the red light, the green. Yeah, that is good. But again, what area? You talk about diversification.
Exactly.
Yes.
Why is Lagos going to diversify? There's so much that Lagos can do. Tourism. Now, the place that have the highest sense in terms of tourism potential in Lagos State is Badagry. How much infrastructure are we going to see in Badagry?
Yeah, tourism is part of the diversification, creative arts, agriculture, transportation, works and infrastructure, industry and investment, wealth creation, employment.
Jibola, when you talk about, you said something there, well, come again, I want to get that point. There's a particular place.
Tourism and creative arts, agriculture, transportation.
Okay, agriculture.
Agric.
How much are we doing in agriculture to bring cost of living? Because the best part of agricultural policy that we've seen the Lagos State government do is their partnership with KB in terms of rice.
There's another one with Niger now.
Niger
now. So those are part of the things that they have done. But how much are you trying to attract those people back here? Do we have the land? Aquatic splendor. How much has Lagos taken advantage of the waters that they have to improve fishery? What you see is still the way they fish 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, polluting the water. You see the environment there. How much is Lagos trying to help them to bring in those new infrastructure? So those are part of the thing, because food now is the key driver of any economy. If you put food on their table, that's what everybody's looking for now.
True.
Sometimes if you go to local palace, they will tell you that what in infrastructure I want chop, now road I go chop. They need to begin to see what they can eat, food on their table. And agriculture is key. Food security is one thing that Lagos State government should pay emphasis on. Because a lot of people consume in Lagos. If you look at the recent data from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, one of the things that makes of the most expensive place, Lagos is included in terms of cost of living. How can the government help bring that? And that is largely driven by two parts: foods and housing. That's the most expensive area in Lagos State sector: food, housing, and then education. Because we have more private schools, and it has gotten to a point that depending on your level, there's a private school that you can go into.
Yes, like the ones you go to.
Yes, there's a private school that you can go into. So they need to make some of these private schools cannot even stand the public school. But because of proximity and because of the way the teachers that are there, even if they are not even professionals. So those are part of the things that Lagos State government should begin to do. And again, some of these private schools should not even be allowed to exist. That's another thing. That's what I talk about implementation.
Those physical.
So sometimes we just look at, we give you food, we give you this. What about those that are spoiling us not to see the value of what you are creating? What are you doing to stop them? We're talking about environment. Lagos State government have set up task force that there will not be street hawking. We still see these streets hawking. They are not doing it in the night. They are doing it during the day. You can say they've arrested, they arrest, but you can't keep on doing that if you are not creating another market for those people to be able to sell their product, because they are thinking of survival. Well, just like what I talk about the federal level. Why are we in the challenge that we are today? A retail sector of the FX market was taken away from the hand of the Bureau de Change. You did not create on that market. Scarcity comes in there. And then the exchange rate go haywire. The same thing. If you are telling them you are taking them off that place, which is you are doing, task force, that's why you keep on seeing the massive arrest, and next week again, massive arrest. Next week again, massive arrest. Because you have not created another avenue for them. So, good enough, you take up their goods, you burn their goods, you do that. That's not enough. You must create an avenue for them.
Okay. You must create an avenue for them. Thank you for your insights on the performance of the 2024 budget in Lagos and, of course, the expectations for the 2025 budget of sustainability. Muktar Mohammed, CEO of Finance with Muktar, has been with us. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure always.
We'll go on another short break. Now, when we come back, the conversation continues.
The 1st of January 2023. So it was night. That on the 1st, the festive period, right? So I went out. So on my way coming back at Ikorodu garage, so there were no bugs. So I was standing